They say life has a strange way of bringing people together when they need each other the most, often in the darkest moments. For Ethan Cole, a single father and part-time mechanic, that night was supposed to be just another long walk home after working a late shift. But destiny had other plans, the kind that change lives forever. Scene 1: The Discovery. Ethan adjusted his hood against the cold drizzle, his work boots splashing through shallow puddles as he made his way down 9th Avenue. His mind was on his daughter, Lily, who was probably asleep by now. She was 10, bright, curious, and the reason he kept pushing forward after his wife's passing 2 years ago. As he crossed under the old bridge, he heard something, a faint groan, followed by the unmistakable sound of metal scraping concrete. He stopped. "Hello," he called out, his voice echoing off the underpass walls. No answer. He took a cautious step forward, flashlight from his phone cutting through the shadows. Then he saw her. A young woman in a police uniform, half collapsed against the wall, her hand pressed tightly against her side. Blood, too much of it soaked through her shirt. Ethan's breath caught. "Hey! Hey, stay with me!" he shouted, rushing over. Her eyes fluttered open, glassy with pain. "Back up. I called, they didn't," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Don't talk, okay, just hold on," Ethan said, tearing off his jacket and pressing it against her wound. "You're gonna be all right." He fumbled for his phone, no signal. The rain made everything worse. "Come on, stay with me, officer," he muttered, panic rising. "What happened?" Her lips trembled. "Ambush, warehouse. I saw something I shouldn't have." Her words trailed off as she slipped into unconsciousness. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He lifted her into his arms. She couldn't have weighed more than 120 pounds and started running toward the nearest lit street. Scene 2: The Rescue. He burst into St. Mary's ER just minutes later, drenched, breathless, shouting for help. She's been shot. "Officer down." Doctors and nurses rushed in, pulling her onto a gurney. Ethan stood frozen, his hands shaking, blood smeared across his palms. A nurse looked at him. "Sir, are you family?" He hesitated. "No, just someone who found her." The nurse nodded. "You might be just saved her life." Ethan watched as they wheeled her away into surgery. The doors closed. Silence. He slumped into a chair, heart pounding. He had no idea who she was, only that he couldn't walk away. Scene 3: A connection forms. Hours passed. Dawn crept in through the hospital windows. Ethan dozed in the waiting room until a tired-looking doctor approached. "She made it through surgery," the doctor said. "One of the bullets missed her lung by a fraction. You got her here just in time." Relief washed over Ethan. "She's asking for you," the doctor added softly. Ethan blinked. "For me?" Inside the recovery room, the woman's eyes fluttered open. She looked pale but alive. "Hey," Ethan said, pulling up a chair. "You gave everyone a scare." A faint smile crossed her face. "I remember your voice. You didn't leave." "I couldn't," he said. "Name's Ethan." "Grace," she whispered. "Officer Grace Turner." They talked quietly. She told him she'd been investigating a corruption case, something involving high-ranking officials and a drug operation. She had evidence, but someone had found out. That's when they ambushed her. Ethan frowned. "You risked your life for the truth." She nodded weakly. It's my job. He smiled. And mine's fixing engines. But tonight, I guess I fixed something else. Grace chuckled softly, wincing from the pain. You're a good man, Ethan. He looked away, his throat tight. I just did what anyone would ve done. But deep down, he knew not everyone would ve stop that night. Scene 4. The threat returns. 3 days later, Ethan returned to the hospital with flowers. Grace was sitting up now, color back in her cheeks. I thought cops liked donuts, he teased, setting the bouquet down. She laughed. I'll make an exception. They talked for hours, about life, his daughter, her dream to make detective. It felt easy, natural. But just as Ethan was about to leave, 2 men in dark suits walked in. Officer Turner, one said flatly. We're from Internal Affairs. We need to discuss your statement. Ethan noticed her hand tighten on the blanket. The men weren't police, not really. Something about their tone felt off. Cold. Everything okay? Ethan asked. Grace forced a smile. Yeah, just protocol. But when he stepped into the hall, he saw one of the men glance at him with unmistakable hostility, like a warning. That night, his unease grew. The next morning, while fixing a customer's car at the shop, Ethan's phone buzzed. A text. Stay out of this. You've done enough. No name. No number. He froze. Scene 5. The decision. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to back off. He had Lily to protect. He didn't owe anyone anything. But when he went to visit Grace that evening, her hospital bed was empty. A nurse said she'd been transferred to another facility. No paperwork. No details. Ethan's heart sank. Something was wrong. He went home, locked the door, and sat on the couch while Lily slept. He stared at the photo of his late wife on the wall. What would you do? He whispered. He knew the answer. By morning, he was in his truck, driving to the address Grace had mentioned earlier, the abandoned warehouse on the East Docks. Scene 6. The warehouse. Truth. The place was eerily quiet. Rain dripped through holes in the ceiling. Ethan crept inside, flashlight sweeping over empty crates and tire marks. Then movement. A muffled cry. He followed the sound to a locked office door. With a grunt, he kicked it open. Grace was there, tied to a chair, blood on her face. Her eyes widened when she saw him. Ethan, how? No time, he said, cutting her loose. Come on. Before they could leave, headlights flared outside. A black SUV screeched to a halt. Armed men poured out. Down. Ethan shouted, pulling her behind a crate as bullets tore through the wall. Grace fumbled for her gun, only one clip left. We're outnumbered. Ethan scanned the room. A forklift. A dangling hook. A plan formed. Cover me. He sprinted toward the forklift, dodging gunfire, and slammed it into gear. The heavy machine roared to life, blocking the doorway and giving Grace a chance to fire back. One by one, the attackers fell or fled. When silence finally returned, Ethan rushed to Grace, his chest heaving. You okay? She nodded shakily. You're insane. He grinned. You're welcome. Scene 7. The aftermath. Later that night, real police swarmed the scene. The men who attacked them turned out to be linked to a corruption ring inside the department. Grace's evidence, hidden in her body cam, exposed everything: crooked officers, politicians, and a cover-up worth millions. Ethan gave his statement, trying to stay calm as reporters swarmed. One of them asked, "Sir, why did you risk your life?" He looked at Grace, standing beside him, her uniform torn but her eyes steady. "Because sometimes," Ethan said softly, "doing the right thing isn't about who you are, it's about who you become when someone needs you." Scene 8: A new beginning. Weeks later, Grace visited Ethan's small apartment. Lily opened the door. "Hi. You're the police lady Dad saved," she said brightly. Grace smiled. "That's me. And your dad saved more than one life that night." Ethan stepped out from the kitchen, drying his hands. "Coffee?" They sat, laughter filling the room, a sound that hadn't been there in a long time. Grace had been reinstated with honors. The case had made national headlines. And Ethan, he'd been offered a civilian commendation from the department. But what mattered most wasn't the medal. It was the quiet understanding that sometimes two broken lives could find healing in each other's strength. Final narration. Narrator softly: Ethan never planned to be a hero. He just wanted to be a good father. But that night, when he found a dying woman under the bridge, he didn't hesitate, and in doing so, he helped uncover a truth that changed an entire city. As for Grace, she found courage not only to fight corruption but to trust again. And for a little girl named Lily, she learned that heroes aren't always the ones in uniform. Sometimes, they're just the ones who care enough to stop and help. Because in a world full of chaos and fear, kindness is still the strongest weapon of all.